Hey everybody, Casual Cag here. I was just hanging out in the shed and I realized, hey, I should probably do another update on the shed. Yes, the shed is done, essentially. There's a few things outside that need to be done, but you guys never really saw some of the stuff that I did outside. I kind of focused on the inside stuff because that's really what mattered, but I thought you might find it interesting to see a few things that were done to the building outside, maybe show you a little bit of how we dug the trenches and all that stuff, and how I anchored the building. I know I talked about the anchoring, but I had to get creative. So in this video, I guess I'll show you around some of that stuff, and I thought I'd go over what I would do differently. I'm trying to think of anything currently. I mean, there's a few things that I would probably do differently, but I guess as I go around and record this video, I may think of a few things and we can talk about it at the end. So I'm gonna get up. I have a gimbal right now, I feel very fancy. I'm gonna get up, take you guys outside the shed, and show you guys what we did out there. Here I am in front of the Shed-Cade. I'm trying not to be too loud. I don't want to disturb the neighbors. The only neighbor that knows I have a YouTube channel is the one across the street who helped me build the building, but otherwise, I don't know. I just feel weird letting everyone know about it. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the skirting, which is just tightly woven lattice. I don't know, it's not woven, but the small holes instead of the big holes. I didn't want to have large critters getting underneath there. A lot of people asked, why isn't it on a foundation? Why didn't you pour a foundation? Well, pouring a foundation would have probably cost another couple $1,000s, which I did not have in the budget. And they never even offered it when I talked to the Tough Shed people. It would have cost a lot of money. There's just no way I could have afforded that. So it is on kind of like a pier and beam setup. But I was not prepared to have this much of the building showing. And in fact, at first I was really freaked out because I didn't want my HOA to get upset. So I came up with the lattice idea. It doesn't look as beautiful as, you know, I'd like it to, but it worked out. I do need to go back and add some trim boards around the top. It was just too hot this summer to even worry about it, so I'm leaving it alone for now. And please don't notice how bad my lawn is right now. It's not good. I don't know why the grass is still growing. It finally got cold. I truly didn't anticipate grass to continue to grow underneath the building, and it did. So hoping this winter it'll all die off, the remaining part that's near the edge. I mean, it was already there, but now it's really trying to grow up. So I'd rather not put Roundup on it, but if I have to, I can take these off and do that. Another thing I still have to do is stain the deck. I've never stained a deck before, never stained the fence. Obviously, my fence looks terrible, but I'm gonna have to do it, I guess. And trying to find a dry day to get it done is difficult, but for now, it still looks pretty good. And speaking of the deck, I'd eventually like to build a path. I put these blocks down because it gets pretty muddy through here. When it really gets to raining hard, water comes through this here, or through the fence line there from my neighbor's side around the retaining wall, goes down and just travels down through the yards. You can even see there's a gap in the fence down there. I guess they did that on purpose to let the water flow through. Luckily, it does not reach the building, which was the reason I couldn't go any bigger this direction. So anyway, I would like to build some kind of low deck that just meets that first step, a pathway that goes over to here. And we've always talked about putting maybe like a 12 by 10 foot deck right here, leaving room near the air conditioner, of course. I put that up because it's so hot in the afternoons. It just helps the AC to not be in the heat. It doesn't look very pretty, but it's there. But if I can get a deck right here that just continually moves this way and makes it nice and clean to get up into the shed, that would be awesome. I'm gonna look into doing that maybe early next year. One of the things that really freaked me out about the building, and I didn't think of this till after the building was built, I wish I'd thought of it first, is I didn't think to anchor this to the ground. For one, like I said earlier, I didn't know it was gonna be this high. And I just never thought that a huge wind could be a problem. But we do get a lot of wind out here. We're on a hill. We're actually at one of the highest points elevation-wise in most of San Antonio. We have a water tower near our house, which shows you how high it is. You know, usually they put those up pretty high to help with the water pressure in general. So when I started thinking about it, like, hey, a big storm has come through before and blown this panel off, this panel off. It's blown down the fence over here before. So obviously we get some high winds, and I thought if this thing catches the wind just right, it could shift a little. And even the guy who built it for me kind of was like, I don't know, just so you know, it could happen. And I was like, well, thanks, that makes me feel great. So what I did after doing some research was find these mobile home anchors, which are 30 inches long, this piece right here. You run this metal strapping through, that goes in and is bolted underneath the building. So that goes in and is bolted directly to the frame of the building. The frame of the building is metal, the flooring is wooden, and of course there's just blocks down there holding it up. But I thought that would be a good idea The biggest problem was, you can see one of them will never be recovered. It is down inside here. I tried manually cranking this thing into the ground myself. Once I realized that was never going to happen, and I also realized I'm never going to get it out, I decided to borrow my cousin's post hole digger. Digging these things into the ground did not work out. I tried to manually do one. I got halfway in and could not do any more even with a crowbar. So we're using this thing. Dug a hole. The ground is so hard here that it got hung up a few times, but I don't know, we got a decent way down. We're gonna dig out this here and see what we can do with it. Basically, that thing's gonna go in the ground. Now we're gonna cement around it to try to give it more stability. It's usually made for, you know, digging fence post holes out. It's gas powered, and it had a really large hole that it created. So we put several bags of concrete in. This is 30 inches in the ground, completely encased in concrete. I don't think this building's going anywhere anytime soon. I always make the joke now that if we got a really, really bad storm or even a tornado here, I bet the top part of the building would be gone, but the frame would still be hanging on, because it's just, there's no way that's ripping out. Now the ground out here is incredibly hard. That's why I knew I needed to get the post hole digging machine to do it, and even then it was tough. We have like an inch of topsoil, and then after that it's just this weird caliche white rock, terrible stuff that doesn't grow anything apparently. And actually next summer or next spring I'm gonna have to come in with dirt and lay it over all this, because we'll never get grass to come back. So we'll get back to this in just a second. This is the trench that runs to the internet line, or runs the internet line to the house. But another thing I thought I'd show you, you guys may see these around buildings and never know what they are. I know for a fact there are mice and rats getting underneath here. I have a pest control business, so I just put one of these bait stations out here and maintain it. So far I've not found any dead rats or mice and not had any smells, but these are good to have at your house. Even if you don't have a problem, chances are you have them outside, you'll just cut down on the population in general. And they are tamper proof, so kids and pets can't get into them, but still I always tell people to be careful with them. So I never showed much of the outdoor, how the AC works. It's a mini split unit on the wall inside there. Originally this unit was gonna go on the back of the building, and I'm really glad I did not do that, because it would have severely limited where I could put arcade cabinets. Right here was perfect. There's never gonna be an arcade game there, but this hides all the tubing and everything that comes out to the back of the building. That's my AC drip line. And here is the unit itself. It's a Mitsubishi. It is a 1-ton unit. I believe it's always kind of on. Actually, of course, right when I try to show you, the fan is off. Right now it's in heating mode, which works really well. It works great as an air conditioner. I really am very happy with how well this worked out. Thank you to my friend Ryan, who installed this for me for free and got me set up with it. Now you may be wondering, what's up with this stuff laid down and some rocks on it. So the plan is eventually, I need to do some landscaping around the shed. I did not want to have rain coming off, and we did put a little gutter here. I didn't want rain landing on this coming off the roof. So instead of having the mud splashing up against the unit, I'm gonna cover this area in rocks. Plants and stuff don't grow over it, and I will keep it up nicer next year. But for now, that's really all I could do, was just get a bag or two of rocks from Lowe's just to hold that stuff down. We're eventually gonna get a trailer load of rocks. I keep my trailer hidden back there, thankfully. The HOA can't see it, so they can't say anything about it, which is nice. But yeah, this unit has worked out really, really well. I'm very happy with it. It's very efficient. It hardly makes any difference on our electric bill, which is awesome. So now I'm on the side of my house. This is where I store my trailer for picking up arcade cabinets, for just picking up general things. But I've picked up at least 3 cabinets on that so far. And this is where the internet goes into the house. So you can kind of see, I'm gonna try to lean back. This comes out of the ground, the conduit, it goes up and into the, okay, I'm gonna try to do this, into the eave up there. So it goes all the way up there. We got up in the attic and ran the wire down into the closet where all my main electric or internet stuff comes in. I'm sorry, not electric, where all my networking stuff is. But digging this trench was no fun. Even though I rented a machine, we still had to hand dig from here to here just so I didn't mess up the house with this giant machine. You know, the grass is not really recovered. We had the hottest summer on record here, which was a great time to be working on building a building, but it's probably gonna come back. But it goes all the way over there, pops in this side, and unfortunately, I had to dig a second trench to get to the electrical, and I'll show you that now. So the electrical stuff was kind of a pain in the butt. We had to upgrade the main panel on my house. I had 125 amp service before this, but I knew that adding all those games back there, I potentially want to add another mini split for our bedroom upstairs, but that doesn't have any relation to this. I figured we need to just upgrade this panel to 200 amp service, and that's what we did. So the conduit runs under the ground here. The grass is kind of recovered a little bit. comes up into this here and goes inside. Now the best we could get was a 60 amp breaker, unfortunately. The wiring for the shed is actually rated up to, I think, 90 amps, but this was all I could find, unfortunately. It was hard to find anything this year, as you can imagine. There's shortages like crazy, and I got lucky finding this 60 amp breaker, apparently. On this side of the house, the digging was incredibly difficult, and we had to watch out because all of my main electric comes in here. My internet, my phone line, which is no longer in use, it all goes through here. Actually, you can see the phone line right there. No matter what we did, it would not go back underground, and I had a cat pooping in here. So, not my cat, but a cat pooping in there, and it kept digging this line up, and I figured, screw it, don't need the line anyway. So when I was using the heavy-duty trenching machine, I stopped probably about 8 feet away from the actual panel, and we had to hand dig this. When they built my house, I guess because of this retaining wall, they dumped tons and tons of rocks, probably about fist-sized rocks, and it made it really, really difficult to dig, and I actually had to get rid of about probably a couple 100 pounds of rocks when we put it all back and bring in new dirt to fill in the trench. It was really rough. And I see somebody has left some trash in my yard, which is nice. But the trench goes back this way. I hoped the grass would come back a little bit better. It really has not, unfortunately. So as we go through the fence, you'll see, once again, it's still, even though I've put dirt over it, hot summer, it just never came back. But the electric keeps running underground here, about a foot or so underground, but it goes, the conduit comes up out of the soil here, goes up into the wall, and it powers the Shed-Cade. Almost forgot to lock the gate. I try to keep this thing locked at all times. I did before the shed was there, but especially now. I don't want anybody creeping around back there. All right, guys, so that's the tour of the outside of the shed. That's what was done that you probably didn't see or maybe just heard about on the channel before. Hopefully it was interesting for you. Target Terror is sticking out right now. Currently, we're still working on getting that running, but that's another video coming in the future, hopefully. As far as what I might have done differently on the building goes, I recorded out there and could not come up with much. Ideally, I would have loved to have had a concrete foundation for two reasons, really. For one, I don't have to worry so much about it blowing away. It would have been sitting probably about 2 feet lower to the ground. Two, it's just more stable. It's unlikely to shift. You know, it's very possible in the future I may have cracks pop up in the walls from the building shifting a little bit. I may have to crawl underneath there and, you know, shore it up in certain spots, but it just comes with, you know, any kind of building like that. The only thing else I can think of is, in a perfect world, I would have had more space. I would have loved to have had like maybe 2 more feet in this direction, you know, like a 14 by 18. A lot of people say, why didn't you just make it like 20 feet by whatever? It's like, well, for one, I pushed the limits of my HOA already. They were more than happy to let me build this building that was probably almost double the size of what they originally allow. And they let me do it. So that was cool. And I know people hate HOAs. Believe me, I don't like it either. But if you try to buy a new house in a new neighborhood in this part of the country, at least, you're probably going to have an HOA. It's just how it is. Luckily, mine's cool. They don't really give us much trouble about anything. So I would have liked to have had more space, but I have a drainage issue in the yard like you saw. It's just not likely that I was gonna have more, be able to do any more than what I got. I'm surprised the city even said yes, to be honest. But I guess that's all for this video, and if you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up. And I probably should have done this earlier, but if you are new to the channel and you don't really know what the heck this is an arcade room I built in my backyard. I had full-size cabinets that I really wanted to put in with all of my other cabinets, which are mainly arcade 1-ups currently. Yes, I made a face when I said arcade 1-ups. Not that I hate arcade 1-ups, it's just now I'm like, I want more real arcades. But anyway, needed more space. This worked out, and it's worked out great so far. I'm really enjoying this. I really don't believe I would have had this without the channel. So thank you guys so much for subscribing, for watching the videos, for super chatting, for being a member of the channel. I really appreciate all you guys who have done that for me. And so yeah, if you're new, please subscribe for more. If you've been here all along, thank you very much. And leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next video.